Hello, American patriots. Are you a supporter of the Second Amendment? Are you a responsible gun owner? If so, then you know the day will come that you're going to need a trusted and qualified gunsmith. When that day arrives, I want you to contact the man that I trust with my weapons, Mr. Delaney Jackson, owner of Jumpin' Jacks, Gunsmith and Appraisal. Besides being a professional gunsmith, Delaney is a true American patriot. And, a little trivia for you, he's also the manager and guitar player for country music legend Mr. Mark Chestnut. So when the time arrives, take your weapons to the man who treats my weapons like they're his own, my trusted friend, Mr. Delaney Jackson at Jumpin' Jacks, Gunsmith and Appraisal. Contact information and website information is in the description of this video below. Thank you and God bless.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, American patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You got many places you could be tonight, but chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. I hope that you all had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Hope that you're all safe. I kind of hunkered down with our puppies for the fireworks that were going off because they weren't very happy about that at all. And I've been out and seen enough fireworks in my life to include real ones that you can't buy here in America. Anyhow, 4th of July is over with and behind us, and we move forward and we get closer and closer to the midterm elections. Tonight, I want to start off with a little bit about this Highland Park, Illinois Antifa-looking thug that has been arrested for shooting and killing a bunch of people at a 4th of July parade. The suspect injured, he killed 7 people. He injured dozens more. But he had 2 prior incidents with law enforcement before this massacre. And that is what's important for you to keep in mind here. Robert Bobby E. Cremo, 21, was taken into custody Monday evening after gunning down 4th of July revelers from a rooftop perch at the Highland Park July 4th parade. Speaking to reporters at the afternoon press conference, Christopher Cravell said Cremo had 2 prior incidents before the shooting. In April 2019, which, by the way, was 4 months after Illinois signed into effect red flag laws, police were called after learning of his attempted suicide. The matter was handled by mental health professionals, and law enforcement did not take any additional action. In September of 2019, 8 months after Illinois' red flag laws went into effect, family members reported that Cremo had a collection of knives and was going to kill everyone in the family. Police responded to the incident and seized 16 knives, a dagger, and a sword from his possession. Highland Park Police notified Illinois State Police of the incident, but no further action was ever taken. Despite these incidents, Cremo managed to legally buy 2 high-powered rifles and 3 other weapons that have since been recovered by officers from his father's home. Cravell said there was no sign that he had any guns at the time of the 2019 incident, nor had he had an application pending for a gun. Authorities arrested him late yesterday. Investigators who have interrogated the suspect and reviewed his social media posts have not determined a motive for the attack or found any indication that he was targeting victims by race, religion, or other protected status, Carvel said. Look, as much as I'm against red flag laws, because I do believe it is very easy for somebody that's got something out for another person, vendetta, whatever amounts to have weapons removed from law-abiding citizens, and it's too vague. But this kid, of all people that this type of law was designed to flag, didn't. It didn't flag anything. There was no indication that it was ever flagged in the federal background system, which keeps you from buying a firearm. Law enforcement was involved with this kid on 2 separate occasions. One, an attempted suicide, which the red flags are designed to take your weapon away from you and put you on the list to not be able to purchase a handgun or any kind of gun. And the other, because of threats of violence to his own family. So if I was the Attorney General, I'd be looking at those that were involved a little deeper back in 2019, because somewhere the ball was dropped. Again, as much as I am against red flag laws, this one right here should have been a prime example, a good case to go forward for the liberals and Democrats that like red flag laws, to be able to show, hey, look, it worked. But it didn't. It didn't work. And there are people dead tonight because of it. While we're on the subject of guns, a New York gun control law will force concealed carry license applicants to provide a list of their social media accounts that they have operated for at least 3 years, so the government can determine if the individual is of good moral character. Signed into law by New York Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul on last Friday, the bill's text states that good moral character is defined as having an essential character, temperament, and judgment necessary to be entrusted with a weapon and to use it only in a manner that does not endanger oneself or others. Sometimes they telegraph their intent to cause harm to others, the governor said at a news conference. The new gun law will go into effect on September 1st. The new law comes just 1 week after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down New York's law requiring gun owners applying for a concealed carry license to prove that they had a worthy need to carry guns in public. The High Court ruled the law was unconstitutional, as is this new law that goes into effect September 1st by the governor of New York. I just signed a new law to keep New Yorkers safe, even in the face of a monumental setback from the Supreme Court. Thanks to our legislative partners for your quick work and collaboration to pass these critical gun safety reforms, the governor tweeted. Concealed carry applicants will also be required to provide 4 character references, and undergo 16 hours of gun safety training, as well as 2 hours of shooting practice at a range. They will be forced to turn over the contact information of 4 adults living in their household, of the other adults living in their household. Licenses must be renewed every 3 years. I'm sure there's going to be a hefty price tag attached to it. The new law also includes a list of sensitive locations where it is unlawful to carry a firearm, rifle, or shotgun, even if an individual has a concealed carry permit. And where do you think these places are? The places that criminals go to shoot up and kill people, you dumbasses. Houses of worship. Yep. We've seen them shoot up those. Public transportation. Happens every day. Airports. Again, people have shot people in airports. Entertainment venues. Happens every week. Bars and restaurants. Happens every day. Times Square. I don't know much about Times Square, but I'm sure people get shot there too. Polling sites. You know, those are the places that back when Obama was running for president, we actually watched the new Black Panther Party show up with weapons to intimidate white voters. And nothing was done. Educational institutions. Yeah, because criminals don't go to those, right? Of all places that get shot up, there's one. Daycares, playgrounds, and places where children gather. Libraries, all government buildings, all courthouses. Health and medical facilities. Emergency shelters, including homeless, youth, or domestic violence centers. Public demonstrations and rallies. Additionally, guns will be banned from private establishments. Just, for the life of me, I can't wrap my brain around how stupid these people are, regardless of your political party, regardless if you're far right, far left, Republican, Democrat, liberal, I don't give a shit. The fact that you think it's safe and you're protecting people from keeping law-abiding citizens from concealed carry in places that criminals go to. That's where do you think it takes place at, you fucking morons? Where do you think people get killed at? Where these people go. They go to places that they know there won't be anybody with a concealed carry permit. There won't be a huge presence of law enforcement. It's mind-boggling that someone can be so stupid as to think that they're protecting citizens. Because criminals do not give a damn about your laws. Do you think this 21-year-old gave a damn about your laws? Oh, hell no. Do you think he knew that it's not okay to go mass shoot people at a 4th of July parade? Do you think that those that go into schools and shoot up the schools know that that's not allowed? The only people you hurt with your fucking dumbass laws happen to be law-abiding citizens. And until you get that, there's going to be more and more people gunned down and killed because law enforcement can't respond fast enough. They can't be everywhere at once. But law-abiding citizens with a concealed carry permit can. It's just some of these people, and trust me, it's both political parties, are dumber than a box of rocks, and that's really an insult to rocks. Speaking of insults, the Justice Department is suing the state of Arizona over a law that is slated to take effect next year that would require voters to provide proof of American citizenship before they can cast their ballot in federal elections. That's a no-brainer. You cannot vote unless you're an American citizen. But Democrats do not want you to have to prove that. because that's the only way they win elections, is by cheating. And what do you call this shit? A state finally does the right thing and says, guess what? You're going to have to prove you're an American citizen or you're not going to vote. And the Democrats say, oh, fuck that. Oh, hell no. You don't have to prove nothing. Just walk up there. Well, what's that going to do? That allows somebody to go vote at every damn voting place in the fucking state, for crying out loud, if they can do it in one night, or at least their city, because they don't have to prove anything. Democrats don't even want you to have to show that it's you with a photo ID. Why? And they say it suppresses black people. Bullshit. Look, if you don't have if you're an adult and you don't have some sort of ID, even my special needs son has a freaking state ID card that shows who he is. I mean, let's get real. This is infuriating. In a court complaint filed today, the Department of Justice alleged that House Bill 2492 violates the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 and the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The law was slated to take effect January 1st of 2023. The complaint alleges the law would throw thousands of voters off the rolls. For nearly 3 decades, the National Voter Registration Act has helped to move states in the right direction by eliminating unnecessary requirements that have historically made it harder for eligible voters to access the registration rolls, said Assistant Attorney General Christian Clark of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. Arizona has passed a law that turned the clock back on progress by imposing unlawful and unnecessary requirements that would block eligible voters from the registration rolls for certain federal elections. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey signed HB 2492 into law back in March. At the time, he said the law would prohibit any attempt to illegally cast a vote. He called it a balanced approach that honors Arizona's history of making voting accessible without sacrificing security in our elections. An Arizona ballot measure in 2004 allowed officials to ask for proof of citizenship for anyone registering to vote. A provision in the measure was eventually struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. In this court complaint, the Department of Justice said the new law also violated a 2013 High Court ruling related to another Arizona lawsuit, saying the state can't require prospective voters using the federal form from submitting anything than the form requires, such as proof of citizenship. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brovachich said he plans to fight the lawsuit. In addition to free rooms and transportation for those illegally entering our country, the Department of Justice now wants to give them a chance to vote. He said in a statement to Fox News Digital, "It's another round of Brovachich versus Biden. I will once again be in court defending Arizona's against this lawlessness of the Biden administration," he said. Look, I'm 60 years old. I've been voting for a long ass time. I've never in my life seen someone not have to show photo ID when they vote. I don't know how this became such a big deal. I voted in Louisiana, where I was born and raised and where I came back to. When I lived out in California, I voted in California. When I lived in Texas, I voted in Texas. When I lived in Florida, I voted in Florida. When I lived in Georgia, I voted in Georgia. And guess what? Each time, at a minimum, I had to show a photo ID. But no, it's going to impact some people. How many people do you know, America, that's an adult that has no way to identify themselves? But the Democrats up in Washington, D.C., and I'm not saying all Democrats because I know a bunch of Democrats that are all for voter ID. They want the integrity of our system to be whole and not destroyed by those who don't give a shit about the rule of law or our Constitution. Speaking of Texas, bear with me a second. Officials from several Texas counties along the southern border announced a series of emergency declarations today to recognize the growing number of migrants in their communities, aimed what they said was lackluster support from the federal government. Several county judges asked Texas Governor Greg Abbott to dictate more resources towards addressing illegal immigrants' activity in the U.S.-Mexico border and to address the resulting crime and quality of life issues faced by border cities. Declaration essentially recognizes a state of invasion of illegal immigrations pouring into communities as local authorities have little to no resources to respond. We want America to know that we want Americans to know this is real. Kenny County Judge Tully Shahan told reporters in Brecksville, the Biden administration won't do a thing about it. They could stop this hour. They could stop it now, but they don't have the guts. Some officials said unpresidential illegal immigration has resulted in property damage, stolen vehicles, gun violence, and other issues resulting from migrants crossing into their counties, many of which have lots of sparse populations and they're spread out over huge areas. And I showed you that when we did our border documentaries. In my community, we have less than 1,000 residents. The 1,000 residents every day live in fear of the invasion, said Dale Lynn, the county judge for Terrell County. We're doing the best we can with limited manpower. Terrell County has the least to offer, but we have a lot of border coverage. Others talked about migrants crossing through school campuses. Oh, hell, where did you hear that from? Right here. We talked about that on our border documentary. We took you to the school, and we showed you a school where they're crossing right in front of the kids. And the liberal freak that's the principal of the school refused to do anything about it. Nothing. Then we tried to take it up to Greg Abbott and show him, and he refused to see us, which is why I'm not supporting that son of a bitch for re-election. I'm supporting Alan West. Migrants crossing through school campuses and putting their lives in danger while trying to flee U.S. Border Patrol agents and local and state authorities. In May, Kenny County law enforcement documented more than 4,000 migrants who avoided apprehension by the Border Patrol, the county said in a news release. In June, authorities there prevented 67 smuggling attempts along county roadways, officials said. Gallatin County Judge Mike Bennett said his county has 2 stoplights and has a sheriff's department that has 2 deputies on duty at any given time. And I also took you to a sheriff's office while we were in Texas and talked to the sheriff about how this particular sheriff only had, I think, like 5 or 6 people to work an entire county that is gigantic on the border. This is not a situation where we're helping these migrants come across. This is a situation where many are dying along the way, he said. There's a lot of carnage left in their wake. Clearly, it is the responsibility of the United States government to do this, and clearly they're not going to do a thing, Bennett said. And I also showed you that. I showed you where dead migrants were littering South Texas border towns. With migrant numbers hitting historic levels And with more than 239,000 migrant encounters in May alone, there's been considerable talk in conservative circles about the merits of declaring the crisis an invasion, which could open up a number of potential legal avenues for states. Ken Solisville, the former acting deputy secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, previously told Fox News Digital the move by the Texas counties was significant and should not put more pressure on Abbott to make the declaration himself. The key here is you've got the first legal ruling that the southern border situation is an invasion, one that's obviously very significant. And two, it's going to, as it should, put enormous pressure on Governor Abbott to adopt that position themselves and to respond accordingly. If you haven't already done so, go to douglasducote.com and check out the border documentaries we did and see for yourself. We went down there several times and showed you all this shit. So I've talked about, and so has all the other media outlets out there, even the liberal ones like CNN, about the dangers we face with China. We know that they're moments away from invading Taiwan. And if that happens, we'll have to defend it. We know that they're doing a lot of things that go against human nature and against their own people, for that matter. But this one here, this here is something that's way further than any of us ever thought possible. In an interview this weekend with the German newspaper Bild, B-I-L-D, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson warned that China is preparing to lay claim to key areas on the moon. I couldn't make this up if I tried, my friends. The moon. That's right. That round object up in the night sky. There is a new race to space, this time with China, Nelson told Bleed in an interview published last Saturday. Bleed also noted China plans to work alongside Russia to establish a base on the moon, and that the base could be finished by 2035 and able to carry out experiments by 2036. Bleed noted the south pole of the moon is expected to be highly contested as key water deposits are suspected in that region. Such deposits could be used to produce rocket fuel. We must be very concerned that China is landing on the moon and saying it's ours now and stay out, Nelson said, adding that China's space program is a military space program. What do you think is happening on the Chinese space station? Nelson said, referring to China's Tiangong space station. They learn there how to destroy other people's satellites. The first piece of the Tiangong space station was launched into orbit in April of last year, and the rest of the station remains under construction, with the next component section scheduled to launch on July 23rd of this month, according to spacenews.com. Nelson is not the first U.S. official to warn of Chinese plans to develop weapons to destroy the satellites in other nations. In April, the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency described various potential Chinese space-based weapons, including the Shanghai 17 satellite, which is equipped with a robotic arm the agency believes could be used to grab and damage other satellites. China has claimed systems like this particular 17 satellite are to be used to help clean up space debris and denied the systems will be weaponized. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesperson, I don't even know how to pronounce this, so I won't. I just say, denied Nelson's latest claim about Chinese plans to seize control of the moon. In a Monday press conference, this is like a Saturday Night Live skit. China wants to take over the moon. It's ours now. Stay away. Good God. This is not the first time that NASA administrations have lashed out at China in disregard of facts. Some U.S. officials have spoken irresponsibly to misrepresent the normal and legitimate space endeavors of China. China firmly rejects such remarks. China always advocates the peaceful use of outer space, opposes the weaponization and the arms race in outer space, and works actively towards building a community with a shared future of mankind in the space domain. He added, China's space exploration is about meeting our legislative and national economic, social, scientific, and security needs. Right there, that last one, that's all you need to know, security needs. He just gave it up, didn't he? Progress in China's space endeavors is achieved through our own independent efforts. Our rights, interests, and achievements shall not be unfairly questioned or discredited. China wants to own the moon. And let's say they do that. Let's say they build a space program up there and they build a colony. What are we going to do about it? Besides nothing. Earlier today, Joe Brandon Biden bestowed the Medal of Honor to 4 Army veterans who fought in the Vietnam War, upgrading previous honors they had received for their acts of valor. The individuals who received the medal, the most prestigious decoration in the U.S. military, are Army Staff Sergeant Edward E. Cancero, Specialist 5 Dwight W. Burwell, Specialist 5 Dennis M. Fuji, and retired Major John J. Duffy. In 1966, Cancero and members of his platoon were attacked by North Vietnamese when they entered a village on a search and destroy mission. He destroyed one enemy group with rifle fire and 2 others with grenades, which enabled the orderly extraction and reorganization of the platoon and ultimately led to a successful withdrawal from the village. He was killed in the action 3 months after the incident for which he was being awarded, and will receive the award from will be issued to his, or was issued to his son. Before receiving the award of his father, the son said his dad's story inspired his own career in the military. Just to imagine, for him to just be selfless and to first jump into fire like that, it inspired me to live up to what he has done, John said. Birdwell, a former Cherokee Nation Supreme Court justice, received the medal for his actions in January of 1968 at an air base near Saigon on the first day of what would become known as the Tet Offense. Birdwell and his unit were under assault by North Vietnamese. While under fire, he moved a tank commander to safety and fired the tank's weapons at enemy forces. When the tank weapons were exhausted, he dismounted and moved to a downed helicopter to retrieve ammunition and machine guns with a comrade. Birdwell's machine gun exploded when it was struck by enemy rounds, injuring his face and torso, but he refused to evacuate and allowed a small group to disrupt the attackers. He then helped evacuate the wounded until he was ordered to seek attention for his own injuries. I did the job that I was trained for. I felt like I had to do this. It was a matter of duty. I did my duty as best I could, Burwell said. I've wondered 1,000 times why I survived and some of the others didn't. But I've thought when I go up for judgment, if I have the courage, I'm going to ask God that question. Fuji received the medal for his actions during a helicopter rescue in Laos in Vietnam across 4 days in February 1971. Aboard a helicopter during a mission to evacuate seriously wounded Vietnamese military personnel, the aircraft took on enemy fire and was forced to crash land, according to the citation. As he was injured, he waved off another helicopter and was the only American to remain behind on the battlefield. He repeatedly exposed himself to enemy fire, administered first aid to allies, and called in U.S. helicopter gunships to repel the enemy attacks. Duffy received the award for his acts in Vietnam in April 1972. Injured at his battalion's destroyed command post in South Vietnam, where the battalion's commander had been killed, Duffy refused to be evacuated. There, he led a 2-day defense on the surrounding FSB against a battalion-sized enemy force, according to the citation. He exposed himself to the enemy to call in airstrikes and was injured again when struck by fragments from a rifle round, but Duffy stayed, directing helicopter gunships onto enemy anti-aircraft and artillery positions. He then personally ensured that wounded troops were moved to safety and distributed ammunition. And during a ground assault by enemy forces, Duffy moved several times to spot targets. Later, he led more wounded troops to evacuation while in continuous pursuit of the enemy. Duffy, who is now 84 years old, was deployed to Vietnam 4 times, racking up 64 awards and decorations, including 29 for valor, 4 bronze stars, 8 Purple Hearts, and 7 air medals. You're honor bound to your duty, and it doesn't matter the risk or the danger. You're there to perform. And as long as you do that, you're in control, Duffy said. Today's ceremony comes a week after the last surviving World War II Medal of Honor recipient, Herschel W. Woody Williams, died at the age of 98. Williams will lie in honor at the U.S. Capitol. To all those men and their families, thank you for your service. And it is an honor to know that you, and in one case, the loved ones of a service member who lost their life, are finally recognized for your heroic actions against enemy forces. This next story might be a little difficult to comprehend. I know when it first came out about 10 years ago, one of the very first videos I ever did, I talked about this. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't understand. I understand what it is. I just don't grasp how it actually works. And the other thing is I believe in God and that God created the earth. And it wasn't some big bang theory, but there are scientists that are doing things that hopefully do not become dangerous to our earth as we know it. It's 10 years to the day since evidence of the Higgs boson, the exclusive particle associated with the invisible mass-giving field, was announced. But for Professor Danielle Bertoglio, the memories are as fresh as ever. I just remember joy. I remember that everybody was so happy. And what surprised me was how everybody was interested. It seems like the whole world was celebrating us, she said. Now, as a large Hadron Collider, the Monster Potion Smasher, and the European Particle Laboratory, CERN, gears up to start its 3rd period of data collection today. Experts are hoping to unpick further secrets of the fundamental building blocks of the universe. Bertoglio said, now head of the particle physics at the University of Oxford and part of the team that discovered the Higgs boson, said her main memory of the events a decade ago was the moment 2 weeks before the announcement when the researchers unblinded their analysts for the data and saw unambiguous signs of the boson. I'm still thinking that moment gives me butterflies in my stomach, she said. It was unbelievable. It's really a unique moment in life for scientists. The media response when the discovery was announced was enormous, with newspapers, radio, and TV all focused on the particle as fleeting as it is important, calling it the God particle. And named after physics Peter Higgs, the Higgs boson is the signature particle of the Higgs field, an invisible energy field that pervades the universe. In a nutshell, it is an interaction of fundamental particles with this field. Interreaction response, first thought to have occurred shortly after the Big Bang as the universe expanded and cooled, which gives them mass. The existence of the Higgs boson was predicted by the Standard Model, a key theory that explains 3 out of the 4 fundamental forces of nature. But it was not until the experiments at the LHC that scientists found the crucial evidence. Thanks to the discovery of the Higgs boson, scientists can now explain a host of phenomena from which electrons have mass and hence can create a cloud around a nucleus, giving rise to atoms, to why a neutron is more massive than a proton, and hence why the former decay, but the latter is stable. Higgins field experiment with atoms exist, why we exist, and the fact that we can put it into context that we think that we understand, I think is pretty cool, she said. But the story is far from over. Since the announcement in 2012, there have been further revelations, including insight into how the Higgs boson is born and decays, and its interactions with heavy particles such as top and bottom quarks. And work continues apace. Among other endeavors, scientists are hoping to study interactions between the Higgs boson and numerous fundamental negative charge subatomic particles and explore the coupling of the God particle itself. Understanding, for example, the Higgs self-coupling could help us understand the shape of the Higgs potential and understand better what happened at the beginning of the universe. Key to such work is the third run of this collider that's due to begin today. It's time the atomic smasher will operate at 13.6 trillion electron volts, up from 13, she said, revealing both the ATLAS and the CMS experiments are expected to double their data set. So, in a nutshell, this is how I gathered what they're doing is none of the scientists involved in this believe in God. They don't believe in Jesus Christ. They don't believe in the Bible. They believe in basically the Big Bang Theory. And they built this device, and you can look it up and Google it. It's huge. I mean, the thing is just gigantic. And in their ability to smash these atoms and recreate stuff within it, they believe they're recreating how this universe became what it is with this God particle, so-called God particle. My biggest concern when they started this, smashing these atoms the way they were doing it, was that somehow they were, first off, they admitted they were going into the unknown. They didn't know what the hell they were going to get themselves involved with. They didn't even have a clue what would happen if they destroyed these atoms, if they were able to make atoms, if they were able to make things that we know exist on planet Earth or in the universe. But they did it anyhow. And luckily, nothing negative came from that. But they're still continuing on with this project. And today they fired this thing back up again. So, I mean, if you got time to kill and you're interested in scientific type stuff, set aside God and the Bible and Jesus and all that stuff, because it doesn't intertwine here in any way, shape, or form, which is the bad part about it. You know, the Bible and God and Jesus and all that it's all faith based. All right. And my faith tells me that God created this earth. At no point does my faith go towards this God particle accelerator atom smasher thing that they've developed in Europe. But I don't know enough about it. There are people that are way above my head, and yours too, I'm sure, unless you happen to be some famous rocket scientist from NASA or wherever, that don't comprehend this. But I just wanted you all to know that there are people that are working on trying to prove that the Big Bang Theory was more than likely what caused the universe and life as we know it. And they've spent billions and billions designing this machine, again, which is just freaking gigantic. It's huge. Look it up. Look up God particle. And don't get too upset when you realize that they don't believe in God. We talked about a lot tonight. And I want you to keep in mind as we get closer to midterms. And look, again, let me say this. I don't care if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, conservative, liberal, whatever. If you can't utilize common damn sense when it comes to what's happening around us in America, don't go vote. Stay home. Watch Flintstones or the Jetsons, something. Because this is very, very important. It's very important that you realize what's happening across this country and the insanity of some of it. And it's both parties, trust me. But we, the people, have to take the blunt of their stupidity. We, the people, have to welcome, even if we don't want to, even if it's in a negative way, what they're sending our way, because it affects us, which is what affects voting, which is what affects you turning out. Your constitutional right should be the first thing that enters your mind. Who am I going to vote for that's going to be a defender of our Constitution, a defender of everything our forefathers built here for us to continue to move forward with and expand on and to make this country what it is today. It's very disheartening as a 4-time combat veteran to look back at everything that I've seen happen across this nation and where we're at right now. It pains me to say that I don't recognize this country. I don't. I'm not going to give up, though. I'm not going to say, fuck it. They're going to rig the elections just like they did the last one or whatever. No. I'm going to go vote. And I'm going to bring anybody I can with me that's eligible to vote. And we're going to go do that. And you are too. Please. It's very, very important that we don't lose this country. You know, Ronald Reagan talked about how we were just one generation away from the end of America. Guess what? That generation is now, my friends. Those kids are graduating college and going out there hating this country, hating our flag, hating our veterans, our military, hating our law enforcement officers. And they're engaged in violent extremist activity. But yet, our current government blames white people for it. It's pathetic that we've come this far to see our country about to go under. Mark my words, if Republicans don't win back the House and Senate, it's done, folks. The America that I was born and raised in, it's done. I truly believe that. The evil that I see that's been put into positions of leadership in this country with the Department of Justice, with the FBI, with Homeland Security, and it goes on and on and on and on. The last thing they give a shit about is you and me, or our constitutional rights. And they're hell-bent on destroying it. So we counter that at midterms. We vote these son of a bitches out of office. They do not belong there. And then those that we elect, we hold their feet to the fire. We make sure we hold them accountable. And the minute they start screwing up, like many of them do when they get elected, we expose them. And we keep exposing them until they do the right thing, or they go away, or we vote their ass out. And that's already happening with several Republicans. There are several Republicans right now that I wouldn't spit in their mouth if they were dying of thirst, because they're horrible human beings. And I think you know exactly who I'm talking about. Two of them happen to sit on the January 6th committee. One last thing I want to talk about when we speak of members of Congress or the Senate. Senator Tiara Mack, T-I-A-R-A, Tiara. Senator Tiara Mack. I want you to look her up. I'm going to leave it at that. I want you to look her up. Senator Tiara Mack. She's from Rhode Island. And I want you to look at her TikTok. I want you to look at her Facebook page. I want you to look at her Instagram. And I want you to see how this state senator is acting like a 13-year-old teenage girl, doing unbelievable things that are unbecoming. You know, there comes a point in our society where you reach a certain stage of prestige. You reach a point where you become a leader. And if that happens, there are certain things that you just alter. For instance, when the time comes that I get elected to a position, I will stop saying the word fuck. I promised my wife that. The Army embedded that word into my head, and it's very difficult for me not to say that word. But when I go out and give speeches or I'm interviewed, you know, I know how to keep that word out of my vocabulary. So it is possible. It can be done. I don't act like a 13-year-old as this person is. And let me give you a hint of what you're going to get to see. You're going to get to see her big old boobies on the beach with the top pulled down right before you can see the nipples. Asking, I wonder how much nipple you can show before TikTok removes you. That's a sitting senator. Standing on her head, on her basically flipped over with her feet up in the air, twerking, wearing a thong bikini, turking her butt, and many other things. That's a sitting member of the U.S. state Senate. Now, I don't know if the people that voted her in knew about this stuff beforehand. For anyone to do what that you see her doing, big deal if it's a normal person. But it comes a point where you got to clean your damn act up. And you need to represent your constituents without looking like a complete and utter moron, which is what she's done. So look it up and prepare to laugh, because I did. Although it wasn't that funny, I look her up. That's all I can tell you. And you'll see some. There's nothing else you can do but laugh at it. I mean, it'd drive you insane if you don't laugh at it. But when you see the TikTok videos and you realize she's a senator, then you're going to go, what the hell are we doing? How did we get to this point? It's like Alihan Omar, calling veterans real terrorists, or that on 9/11 some people did something. Rashid Tlaib, wanting to see Israel wiped off the face of the map and blaming America for everything that's ever went wrong. We're trying to say that we're no better than any other country. All right. We're electing wingnuts. Yeah. Wingnuts. It's that little nut that goes on a bolt that's got two little pieces where you can help tighten it down a little bit more. Yeah. That's what we're electing. Freaking wingnuts. Anyway, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and come back often to check to see that you're unsubscribed so you can resubscribe again, because YouTube has a great habit of unsubscribing all my subscribers. And I have to come back and resubscribe again, even my own family members. And they say, oh, it's fake accounts. Well, I know for a fact that my son's account's not fake. My cousins, aunts, uncles, my parents, my wife, none of them, their accounts aren't fake. They're real people, but the YouTube, they're not. That's their way of purging conservatives off this platform. And also go to DouglasDucote.com, which is where the future of this show will be at the rate we're going, because if YouTube don't kick me out of here, I will leave probably before they get that opportunity. I'm going to stay here and keep fighting. But once we can get something better established with this program, YouTube is the last damn place I want to be. Anyhow, I'm leaving tomorrow to head back over to the other side of the state to help take care of my mother, who's doing a lot better. She's recovering at home, but she has a long way to go. I'll be taking her on Thursday to see doctors. I hope to be able to do the show Thursday night, but I can't do it from their house. So depending on where I'm at that time will depend on whether or not the show will go off Thursday night. If it doesn't, I'll put it in my community section and also on the other locations in social media. You can find me, which is in the description of this video below once it goes up. So, as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America and you. Thank you. Share my videos. Let people know about the show. Subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on Thursday. Same bat station, same bat time. Good night, everyone. Have a blessed evening.